there was a resistance force that was set up in the east from the Donbass region that fought back. Obviously they were military units, and so they were killed also. But they wouldn't have been involved in the war, they wouldn't have been in the militia had it not been for the fact that the Ukrainians, via the government, via their army, were bombing and killing Ukrainian citizens to the tune of 14,000 in the east, just because they were they identified as Russian, if you like. Now, in the days that we can identify as whatever we want, you'd think that would be okay, but no. So 14,000 were killed by their own government, and this is why Vladimir Putin, who is completely and utterly justified in what he's doing at the moment. I mean, I don't like war at all. But if Russian people that are living just across your own border from Russia into Ukraine, and they're all ethnically Russian, and they're pleading with the Russian government saying, listen, we're being murdered, we're being butchered, do something. So Russia moved his forces, their forces, to the border and said this has got to stop. And that's not only that, the Ukrainian army were up against the Donbass region, ready to do more damage to these people living in the east. So this is why it's all come about. This isn't on the news. You won't see it on the news because this doesn't fit the narrative of Volodymyr Zelensky, the comedian puppet, being this fatigue wearing, green shirt wearing hero fighting the big bully. It's not true. Total nonsense. So there are a lot of Nazis. There are a lot of Nazis. The Azov battalion from the Ukrainian army openly wear Nazi symbols, openly. So they are, and their rhetoric is is all about Nazism and ethnic purity and all the rest of it. Just straight out the Nazi handbook from Hitler himself. In fact, the BBC showed the Azov battalion in their true colours. I think it's 2015, 16 and 17, how brutal they are and how nasty they are, and their links to these far-right Nazi affiliated organisations. But that seems to have been forgotten now. But the real thing about it is it's a grift. It's about the money. Billions. At least 100 billion from the Americans alone have gone over to fund the death and destruction in Ukraine. Now, people hear billion, trillion, million, and they all end in illion. The fact of the matter is, everyone knows what a million is. It's 1,000 thousands. So you take a million and times that by 1,000, and that's a billion. Take a billion and times that by 1,000, and that's a trillion. The world is in debt. The world is bankrupt. The US government's bankrupt, the British government's bankrupt, the banks are bankrupt, there is no money. There's more debt in the world than what there is assets, and that's official. I haven't got the numbers off the top of my head, but you're talking in the tune of, there's about 4 times as much debt than what there is physical assets and paper assets on Earth. They're not getting paid back. So there's no way out of this apart from to do away with cash and then inflate the debt away via higher prices for people to pay. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. We're seeing food prices, fuel prices, rent prices, all going through the roof. So what's happening is the paper currency that we carry around, £20 used to be a huge sum of money back in the day. £20 is still the same, but what it buys you now is pitiful. It's depreciating in value daily. So I would suggest that anyone who's looking to maintain their purchasing power and secure their future, buy some things of tangible worth. Land, gold, silver, antiques, anything that holds its value, because the currency that we use doesn't. But that's another long subject for another day. what I'm most annoyed about is, like I said, having served in the British Army myself, having experienced active service, and being brought up on the fact that Nazis were evil. This astonished me. I'm going to just play a video there. I mean, it's all over the place at the moment, but the Canadian government invited in a Ukrainian Nazi. They billed him as a World War II Ukrainian war veteran. Well, he was. But the fact of the matter is, he was fighting on the side of the Nazis. He was a Nazi. And the Canadian Parliament gave him a standing ovation because he was fighting the Russians. Obviously, the Russians now are considered the world's enemy for no good reason, but they are, because it just suits the politicians that are supposed to be running the country. Now, my opinion of government, be it local or state or however, federal, whatever your government is, government are bureaucrats that are paid by taxpayers to facilitate the smooth running of society that the working people that produce things haven't got time to do. So those that lay bricks, or those that sell cakes, whatever it is, these people are contributing to the economic movement of the society and the well-being. And if you make a good product, you become wealthy. So you're a producer, you do stuff. Now, tax is what we pay, and I've paid for decades into the system. We pay an amount because we want these people to run our country and make sure the roads work and the bins are collected and such like. So we pay them, but that makes them working for us. We've forgotten that. These people now have switched positions where now they carry around clipboards and wear their important high-vis vests, and then demand that we do as they say, even when it makes no sense at all. So I'll show you this piece now. You can look it up for yourself afterwards. It's horrific. The world's gone mental. How is it that a Canadian Parliament, or the Canadian Parliament, can invite in a war criminal, and to a man and to a woman in the Parliament, they stood up and applauded this man for fighting Russians, even though the Russians lost more people, soldiers, men, women, mostly men obviously back in them days, but they lost more soldiers to the Second World War than any other country. And they effectively ended the Second World War along with the Allies, the British, the Americans, the Free French, and all those that contributed to the ending of the war. The Russians were key to ending the Second World War. And yet this guy's been invited into the Canadian Parliament and been given a standing ovation for fighting with the Nazis against the Russians. Unbelievable. I'll just play it and then you can research it yourself after. This is Brian Baletic from the New Atlas, and brilliant channel. I suggest you watch it, but I'll just play this.